Did you boost a brand new Havoc Demon Hunter or looking to brush off your old one for Season 4 of Shadowlands? In this video, I'll be going over all the gearing choices, talent choices, covenant choices, and the basic rotation of Havoc Demon Hunter for Shadowlands Season 4. The best covenant for Havoc in all forms of content is going to be Venthyr. Venthyr offers the very strong Sinful Brand ability, an 8-second dot with a 45-second cooldown that hits very hard. When combined with our legendary choices, which we'll cover in the gearing section, you have the ability to extend this dot for a long time, usually aiming for 100% uptime, which is where our damage profile and niche comes from. Additionally, using meta applies Sinful Brand to any targets you hit with the reticle of meta, giving us the ability for large AoE damage. While the burst of this covenant isn't great, this is the best covenant for Havoc and is the most viable. In terms of conduits and soulbinds, you want to be choosing Nagia in all situations, as her traits Dauntless Duelist, Thrill Seeker, and Fatal Flaw are very strong for us. For single target, you want to follow something like this, using Growing Infernal and Relentless Onslaught as your two potency conduits, and picking up Dauntless Duelist. For AoE, you still want Growing Infernal and Relentless Onslaught, but we choose to change out the Dauntless Duelist for a third potency conduit, and take Dancing with Fate. Cleave and Raid is very similar to the AoE choice, but you swap Dancing with Fate for increased scrutiny. Now, there are builds that use Night Fae, however, those generally aren't as viable or as strong as the Venthyr builds and are beyond the scope of this guide. If you want to learn more about those, please check out the Wowhead or Icy Veins guides, as they have very good information. In terms of talents, Venthyr Havoc are very locked into their choices, with the only real choices coming on the level 30 and 45 row for utility or survivability. In all scenarios, you want to be taking Blind Fury on the first row for a longer I-beam, Insatiable Hunger on the second row, as it's the most consistent Fury generation, Unbound Chaos on the third row, as it allows high damage while not costing any focus, Cycle of Hatred on the fifth row, in order to reduce the cooldown of I-beams, and Demonic on the seventh row, for often demonic windows. In terms of the fourth and sixth rows, I would recommend Netherwalk and Master of the Glaive for raid or single target, like is on the screen now. For Mythic Plus, I would recommend either taking Soul Rending or Netherwalk, which is very personal preference, on the fourth row, and would say to take Fel Eruption for a stun on the sixth row in order to help with stops in a dungeon. Legendaries are a very strong part of what makes Venthyr Havoc so good, with our legendary choice having great synergy with the Covenant Legendary. The Covenant Legendary, Agony Gaze, increases the damage of Sinful Brand by 10% and causes each tick of I-beam and Fel Devastation to add 0.75 seconds to its duration, often leading to a 20+ second duration of the dot. To couple with this, the best legendary choice for all situations is going to be Collective Anguish. The Fel Dev summoned from this legendary also extends the Sinful Brand dot, and can do some serious AoE damage due to the interaction with meta. In single target, Dark Lair Boon is technically ahead of Collective Anguish, but suffers heavily from RNG, as well as forced downtime from the boss. Due to this, Collective Anguish is generally run, but Dark Lair Boon is a solid alternative if you're okay with the RNG. The change to gear item level in Season 4 leaves us with legendaries that have a lower overall item level than the rest of our gear, causing us to want to craft our legendaries on slots with the lowest primary stat. Due to this, when running Collective Anguish, you want to craft it on your wrist slot, with your Unity legendary on the neck. We choose neck here to not interfere with Mechagon rings, which are very powerful. If playing with Dark Lair Boon, craft it on your neck, with your Unity going on your wrists. All legendaries should be crafted with Haste and Versatility as their stats. In terms of stat gearing, Haste and Versatility will generally be your best two stats, with Crit also having some value. Mastery is a very bad stat for Havoc Demon Hunter and should be avoided at all costs. But of course, always be simming yourself with raid bots or other tools to figure out how each piece will impact you as you gear. In dungeons with the Season 4 affix, we want to select Crit as our main stat. The versatility gains from the affix were cut in half and lose value significantly, and the haste gain is not enough to fit another Death Sweep in demonic windows, so Crit wins out there. From raids and M+, the items you want to prioritize getting the most are going to be 2 Cruciform Vein from Paintsmith and Sanctum of Domination. This is our highest priority item, and Dinar should be spent here first. These are weapons and are very powerful. Following that, we're looking to pick up the Cache of Acquired Treasures trinket from Zymox and Spulch for the first ones, and then the Salvage Fusion Amplifier from the Guardians of the first one's boss in Sanctum of Domination. These two are our strongest trinkets that you can get, and Dinar should be spent on them as well, with your last Dinar going to whichever one you have a hard time getting. Personally, I would recommend going for the Salvage Fusion Amplifier, as the Cache of Acquired Treasures is from an earlier boss than Guardian is. For Mythic Plus, the best rings we can get are going to be the Logic Loop of Division and the Overclocking Bitband from Mechagon. These are very high priority items and should be farmed for if you desire them. In terms of rotation for single target, you want to start getting enough Fury, so 30 in order to I-beam. Generally pre-pool, that means that you use Immolation Aura and you use your Arcane Torrent Racial if Horde. If not, you want to start with a Demon's Bite, slap your brand on the target, use I-beam, immediately meta, and then I-beam again. Now you can spend the Fury down between each one in order to do some more Chaos Strikes, but it's not necessary. You want to make sure you use your proc, not to waste your Unbound Chaos proc. Use it again. And from there, you're basically just using Demon's Bite and Chaos Strike or Annihilation in order to reduce the cooldown on your I-Beam to keep Brand rolling as long as possible. In single target, you never want to be pressing Blade Dance or Death Sweep. Both of those are very bad buttons to push in single target, especially when you're Venthyr. They take Fury away from reducing your I-Beam cooldown and will lead to you dropping Brand eventually, as well as just doing lower damage overall. In terms of your trinket there for your cash, you want to just be using that when it's on the crit one, so on the axe. You can see up here I'm on the sword right now. It will swap over to axe right there. You just use that. If you can line that up with your meta or with your I-Beam, then it's even better, and you'll do a ton of single target damage. But overall, the rotation is fairly simple. Just don't cap Fury. Always use your I-Beams. Do not use Death Sweep or Blade Dance, and make sure your brands don't fall off. For AoE, generally you want to start by either getting 30 Fury again, or just straight up metaing onto your pack, and then immediately I-Beaming. You'll see we get a ton of brands out here. In AoE, you do want to use Death Sweep, but only if you do not care about extending your brand. So using your Death Sweep on cooldown, using your Immolation Aura, and your Fel Rush are all very important things for doing high AoE damage. You can see here that I'm actually not going to get the extension, which normally isn't too perfect. We can try and get it here. But your Death Sweeps do end up doing a lot of damage in AoE. Now, you don't ever want to use Blade Dance. Blade Dance is just not a good button. The damage it brings is very low. However, Death Sweep does do a lot of damage. So only use Death Sweep while you're in Demonic or Metamorphosis. I'll get I-Beam back here. In every single Demonic window, you have enough time to fit in 2 Death Sweeps into this, and there's not really enough haste in the game currently to get this to a to 3. So we're off of meta here now. So I I-Beam. I immediately Death Sweep. Then I use Annihilation a little bit. Death Sweep again, and then meta is over. And you don't really get enough to do that a third time. You need a lot of haste for that. And you never use Blade Dance. Blade Dance is just not enough damage. But that is your AoE rotation. Again, don't cap Fury. Don't let your brand drop off if you can help it. Use your I-Beam. Use your short cooldowns like Immolation, Aura, and Charge. And you will be doing good damage. So that is my guide for Havoc Demon Hunter in Season 4 of Shadowlands. I'm a big Havoc fan. I'm going to be playing it a lot this season, doing a lot of content, raiding, dungeons, all that stuff. So if you like this video, please make sure to subscribe. I'm a very small channel. I'm trying to grow, trying to hit 500 subs by the time Dragonflight releases. I'll have a ton of Demon Hunter content for Dragonflight as well. So if you like this video, if you found it useful, if you liked it at all, please give it a sub. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions, or if you just enjoyed it, give the video a like. It all helps me out very much. If you have any further questions, again, comment them down below. But the Wowhead Guide and Icy Vein Guide are now very good resources ever since Shadowrect took over writing them. As well, you can check out the Demon Hunter Discord, which I will link in the description. It used to be a very scary place, but there's lots of us there, myself included. You got people like Jedith, you got people like Shad, who will always be there to answer your questions. If you have any, I will generally help you out. So, thanks again for watching the guide. I hope I helped out. Enjoy Season 4. Demon Hunters will blast, sorta, and will at least be very fun to play. And have a good one, everybody.